Hey everybody, Christopher there. This is my exposition about photography, a topic that I think I know very well. Well, not quite not, but we are still working on it. Okay, first and foremost, I wanna talk a little bit about introduction about the history of photography. I read about that. We must thank Henry Fox Talbot because it was one of the most important contributors for the photography, inventing a cheapest alternative for the photography that was used those days, being able to reproduce the images in negatives. But the main disadvantage of these negatives was that they wouldn't last for long. But the main advantage is that the main difference from its competitors was that it would make unlimited copies of that photo, if you would call it that way. Okay, and also he was responsible for the first book with illustrations, creating a big impact on society and the way that books were read at that time. Okay. Next, I'm gonna talk. I want to talk about a little history about the cameras. Okay. First, as you can see on this little image, we have to cast back up to 1862, when Johnson and Harrison invented the pantoscopic camera, and they developed that in the same year. The revolver camera, that the camera that you have to use like maneuver, and you have to turn around, and it would say let the light pass by the lens, make an image. Then we can jump up to the Kodak, this black box in which the photographer could, well, can kind of encloses his head in the box, and takes the photo and covers the rest of his head with a black veil. Yeah, you may know that. And yeah, then we can jump up to 1895, in which the camera pocket pluggable camera was invented. These cameras that you may see on on the parts back in the days. Okay. Well, we can kind of jump into this because it was the most remarkable of the cameras, and then we have the cameras that we know nowadays, which is the DSLR cameras, which are mainly composed of a complex system of mirrors that allow the light to pass by the lens. So the the mirrors are shaped this way, and the light bounces first into this lens, and then goes to this lens, and then goes to another lens that is placed around that 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 place, and it goes through the visor, and so the photographer could see what is actually taking the photo. Okay, these cameras used to work with 8 millimeters rolls that used to be the negatives. Okay, one thing is clear, that this was the most remarkable advance that time, and yeah, then in the early 2000s, the jump from these 8 millimeter rolls to the digital era were very important to the photography as we know it nowadays. Um, Jumping from taking the rolls to a photography agency, and they could reveal it to just throw in an SD card and could save the photo and show it to your familiars or so. Okay. Then we have the one of the most recent advances, most recent advances nowadays in photography, which are mirrorless cameras, which were invented in 2007 because of Kodak. It is a camera that a difference from the DSLRs is that the lens, well, the light goes directly to the lens, and there is this little electronic viewfinder which interprets those lights, well, the light signal, and reproduces it to a viewfinder that is placed behind the camera, as you may see it in there, this little LCD panel. Okay, and yeah, it works mainly with SD cards, and it is also used for videography also. And let me explain a little bit about how the lenses works. Okay, so the lenses are these little tubes that go in the camera body. Okay, this has these little blades that is placed in the camera actually. I don't know if you might see it. This isn't quite okay. Well, these blades they allow the light to go through them, go to the body of the camera. So then the more open that these little blades are, the more light that is going to pass. Okay. They have an advantage, that is that the less aperture, for example, in 1.4, it is used mainly in low light situations, and also the aperture, also the blurriest that the background will be. It is used mainly in portrait photography. These photos in which the subject is focused and the background is completely blurred. Okay. Then we are going to talk about the the focal length. These millimeters that are on nice well next to the aperture. These millimeters are the amount of roundness that these lenses has, and this little mirror piece that is here, and it is similar to an eye. Okay, so the roundest that this lens is, the more information that is going to capture from the from the landscape. So okay, so as you may see, if the lens is round enough, it could catch a lot of information. Yeah, and so the lower the focal length is, the most distortion that you're going to get. For example, you see these photos in which, if you see this hand, for example, in 10 millimeters, which is a fisheye, you may see the photo that is pulled from the sides and you may see it longer at the center. Yeah. And so 50 millimeters are used for portraits, 18 millimeters are used for weddings and full body portraits. Yeah, well, 200 millimeters are used for sports photography, and mainly animal photography. The situations in which you couldn't approach too much to them, to the to the animal, indeed. Okay. That's all that I want to talk about photography. I wish that I could elaborate more, but that's all the time I have. So thank you.